Let's move on to the next topic, creating and configuring zones. In this section, we'll walk you through setting up how the operator will receive events from each device linked to the alarm panel right on their screen. Within your account, under the Zones section, you'll have the option to add each device associated with the alarm panel. These could include a motion sensor, smoke detector, magnetic contact, or even a temperature sensor for refrigerators. Essentially, any type of sensor that can be linked to an alarm panel. Each device will occupy a specific zone in the alarm panel. For example, Zone 1 might be a magnetic contact on the entrance door. Zone 2 could be the motion sensor at the entrance. Zone 3 might be a smoke detector. And Zone 4 could be a panic button. The technician will configure these devices in the alarm panel, and you'll need to mirror this setup within the system. To add a new zone, click the Add button. Choose the type of zone. The code corresponds to the position that the zone occupies within the alarm panel's configuration. For instance, if the panic button is set up as Zone 4 in the panel, it must also be set as Zone 4 in the system. Then, assign a name to the zone like panic button. Add any additional notes, such as whether the sensor is wired or wireless. Select the alarm code that will appear on the operator's screen when this zone is triggered. For example, a panic button might generate a panic event in the system, while a magnetic contact might generate an intrusion event. Then, decide whether the event should display a photo of the account on the operator's screen. This can be customized based on the specific zone or event. Next, you'll configure the restoration control. In this section, you define what event the system should expect after a zone is triggered. A restoration event typically follows a zone trigger. For example, let's say we expect the restoration within 3 minutes. If the system doesn't receive the restoration signal within that time, it can generate a second alert, a second alarm on the operator's screen. If the restoration does eventually arrive after the 3 minutes have passed, the system will ask if you want to process the restoration failure. The auto-processing only applies to the restoration failure itself, not the original event. The original event will still appear on the operator's screen and must be handled. Now, let's take a closer look at the different zone types you can set up. You may see options like local and link in older versions of your platform. However, these options are no longer in use, and you won't find them listed in more recent versions. So, what are the viable options? There are 3: normal, forward to another account, and map to another account. Let's explore what each of these means. Normal. This is the standard option. The event will be processed by this account and show up on the screen exactly as configured. Forward to another account. In this case, all events received by this account will be forwarded to another account. For example, if an event comes into account 1001, it will be redirected to account 5. And finally, mapping to another account. Let's say we're working with account 1001. The event arrives here but doesn't get processed directly. Instead, the system checks account 5 for the zone configuration. For instance, if Zone 1 triggers an event in account 1001, the system will look at account 5 to see how Zone 1 is set up there. It will retrieve the zone description from account 5 and send it back to the original account, 1001, for display. In short, the system looks for the zone setup somewhere else, retrieves it, and displays it right where you need it. This mapping feature is particularly useful when you have preset configurations, like an alarm kit, allowing the system to automatically pull zone descriptions from one account, for example, account 5, and apply them to new accounts. This saves time and ensures consistency. If a sensor is malfunctioning and sending frequent events, for instance, you can place just that zone in test mode while continuing to receive events from other zones. To deactivate a specific sensor, go to the Situation tab and select Test by Zone. This can be done both in the Account Administration module and from the Web Monitoring module, so operators can handle it directly. While in test mode, any events from that zone are automatically processed by the system and won't appear on the operator's screen.